Bench 3, a story about presence, kindness, and quiet memory. Greenhill Park wasn't much to look at, just a gravel path, a few weathered wooden benches, and some old maple trees that shed red leaves with each gust of wind. It didn't have a playground, no fountain, nothing grand. Just a quiet corner nestled in the aging west side of the city. To strangers, it was forgettable. But to the residents, it was part of life. Children learned to ride their bikes here. Elderly folks walked their dogs or paused to breathe. And every afternoon, without fail, a man sat at bench 3, right beside the largest maple tree. No one quite remembered when he first appeared. Some said last year, others insisted it was before the pandemic. He never shared his name. He never started conversations. He simply sat back straight, hands resting on a wooden cane, eyes fixed quietly on the park's entrance. When someone passed by, he'd nod. Sometimes he'd smile. If he recognized a face, he'd nod again, like saying, "You again, on this beautiful day, huh?" People began calling him the old man on bench 3. At first, many found him odd. An old man, sitting alone, no book, no phone, just watching. Some mothers gently tugged their children away, unsure what to make of him. But he never approached anyone, just sat, silently, like a calm shadow. Over time, his presence became familiar, even comforting. Rain. He'd be there, under an old umbrella. Cold, he'd add a sweater and scarf. Like some quiet appointment bound him to that very bench. One day, a little girl named Lily, about 6, tripped and fell while playing hopscotch nearby. The old man didn't move, but he gestured gently to a nearby boy, who ran to fetch her mother. Then he pressed his palms together and gave Lily a soft smile. Later, Lily told her mother, "The benchman made my knee feel better with just his eyes." From that day on, Lily waved to him every afternoon. "Hi, Mr. Heel," always nodded back. At first, the old man was invisible to the world, just background scenery. But slowly, something shifted, not with questions or curiosity, but with presence. He simply was, and people began to feel it. Maggie, in her 60s, walked through the park each day. She'd lost her husband, George, 2 years earlier. Her house felt too silent now. At first, she avoided eye contact with the man on the bench. The second time, he nodded. The third, she returned it. Weeks passed. Maggie slowed down each time she neared bench 3. She never stopped, never spoke. But there was something about him, the way he sat so calmly, day after day, that brought her quiet peace. One breezy afternoon, as she passed by, she whispered, "George would have liked you." She didn't expect a response, but the old man looked at her gently and nodded, as if he understood. Noah, 14, thin and withdrawn, bore quiet bruises on his wrists. At school, he was too quiet for the loud kids, too different to be accepted. Home wasn't much better. His parents were often absent, or worse. Cold one day, taking a detour to avoid bullies, Noah discovered Greenhill Park and saw the old man. The first time, he ignored him. The second, he slowed down. By the fourth, Noah sat 3 benches away. The old man didn't speak, just offered a calm nod. From then on, Noah returned often. Sometimes with a sketchbook, sometimes with nothing. He never sat on bench 3, was the old man's spot, but he sat close, and in that quiet distance he found something rare. Peace without words. One afternoon, after being cruelly mocked at school, Noah entered the park. Fists clenched, he collapsed onto the nearby bench and whispered, "Why are people so mean?" The old man didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket and held out a single peppermint candy, wrapped in red foil. No words, just an offering. Noah took it, unwrapped it, and smiled for the first time that day. Jared worked in advertising, always rushing, coffee in one hand, Bluetooth in the other, barking into phone calls. Greenhill Park was just a shortcut to the bus stop. He barely noticed the old man at first. One day, his phone died mid-call. Frustrated, Jared plopped onto a bench 3 without realizing someone was already sitting at the other end. Looked up, a bit sheepishly. The old man didn't mind. Jared sat in silence. After a moment, he noticed the man watching a squirrel dancing near a tree. Jared followed his gaze. The squirrel paused, twitched its nose. The old man smiled. Jared's shoulders relaxed a little. He put the dead phone into his pocket. They sat like that, quietly, for almost 10 minutes. As Jared stood to leave, he gave a slight nod, and the old man, for the first and only time, spoke. In a raspy, slow voice, he said, "Try not to miss it all." Just one sentence. Not profound, not poetic, but it hit Jared in a place he hadn't known was hollow. In time, more people noticed him. A young mother with twins often rested on the bench across from him. A dog walker left a treat each Friday. A violin student said he was her best audience. For practice, O was offering a nod and a silent clap. He never asked for anything, never intruded, but he was there, and somehow, just being there made life a little softer. Then one overcast afternoon, the wind blew stronger than usual. Leaves circled on the gravel path. Branches cracked. People walked by and paused. Bench 3 was empty. No brown coat, No wooden cane, no gentle nod or kind smile. Maggie stopped mid-step, blinking. She waited a few minutes. Nothing changed. Maybe he went home early, she whispered. The next day still empty. Then another, and another. Noah sat on bench 4, staring at the space where the old man had always been. He didn't sketch, he didn't speak, he just sat, hoping. Jared, walking through the park as usual, stopped for the first time in weeks. He stood silently, by the bench. Maybe he's sick, someone said. Maybe he moved, another guessed. But in their hearts, they knew. On the 8th day, a staff member from the local nursing home arrived. She carried a worn canvas bag and a notice. The old man, no family, no visitors, had passed away peacefully in his sleep 3 days earlier. No funeral, no mourners, just a hospital form, a cremation, and a quiet ending. She placed his belongings on bench 3. Inside, a nearly empty peppermint candy pack, a folded handkerchief, a blank notebook, and an unsent letter, with no name or address. The neighborhood fell silent. No one said much, but everyone felt it, a void they hadn't noticed until it opened. They didn't know his name, what he did, who he had been, but they remembered him. Greenhill Park wasn't the same. The nods were gone, the quiet watching eyes, the steady kindness. Lily walked through the park with her mother and stopped when she saw the empty bench. "Where is the old man?" she asked. Her mother knelt beside her and whispered, "He's gone now, honey." Lily frowned. "Do you think he knew I liked saying hi to him?" Her mother didn't answer. She just held her close. That day, someone placed a flower on the bench. The next day, a note. "Thank you for nodding at me every day." Then came a drawing from a child, a folded handkerchief. A boy bowed deeply as he passed. Bench 3 was no longer just a bench. It had become a place of memory, of quiet gratitude. A mint candy was placed gently on the seat. A boy taped a note that read, "I hope you're smiling where you are." Later, a woman installed a small wooden plaque on the bench's side, in memory of the man who nodded at us each day. "Thank you for your silent kindness." From then on, the bench was never truly empty. People sat not to replace him, but to continue the presence. Some paused to breathe. Some read softly, as if reading to him. Children waved to the empty bench out of habit. One golden afternoon, a young man with a quiet face came into the park. He sat on bench 3, looked around, took out a mint, placed it where a cane might rest. He smiled and nodded. Not kindness doesn't need volume. Presence doesn't need a name. And some people, even after they're gone, leave a gentle light in the smallest things. A nod, a smile, an old wooden bench. Time passes. Seasons change. But in Greenhill Park, bench 3 remains, a quiet monument to someone who never asked to be remembered, but will never be forgotten.